What's up, everyone? I'm super excited today because I got my Gibson Les Paul Standard 2015 and it's equipped with grinning dog pickups, the same pickups that Mr. Jimmy uses in the Jason Bonham band. And I've got a Marshall Plexi 1959 hand-wired reissue, and I'm super excited because I've never played a non-master volume amp before, and I've heard like this is going to be the most amazing experience. Everybody says this is going to be the most amazing experience that you've ever had. Like this is going to be Madison Square Garden, like coming down right now. And I'm super. I got to document this because this is going to be so amazing. I just can't wait to share this experience. So, you guys ready for this? Here we go. Madison Square Garden. Here it is. So actually that probably didn't sound all that awful by the time it gets, through the microphone and gets processed through everything and compressed. But in the room it was very bright and it was very painful. And this might be an experience that a lot of people getting a Plexi for the first time might have. I had my presence cranked almost all the way up. I had my bass on 4, I had my middle on 3, I had my treble on 4, and I only had my main volume on 3, and then only going into the lead channel, and then my other channel of course all the way off because I'm not even going into it, right? So let's just talk about the EQ settings for starters. By the way, I've also switched to a Joe Bonamassa Epiphone Les Paul Lazarus. This has Bryan Williams Madison Square Garden 1973 50th anniversary pickups in it. They don't hit the amp quite as hard as the grinning dogs, and I actually prefer that because I feel like you can they clean up a little bit better, and they're a little more versatile just because they don't hit the amp quite as hard. Both pickups are outstanding, but you can kind of get away with turning your amp up a little bit louder with these since they don't hit the amp so hard and it still cleans up. So I like the versatility in that. Anyway, that said, I'm going to turn my presence down to halfway. I'm at, as far as the o'clocks go, I'm at noon. I'm going to keep the bass at about 4. I'm going to keep the middle fairly low actually because these amps just have a lot of mid-range naturally. And I'm going to put the treble at about 4. And I'm going to turn the volume all the way up to 6, in between 6 and 7. And so here is, actually let me go back. Here's where I was with the presence cranked, the volume down, and then now I'm on the Epiphone, but I'm on my bridge setting. It's really bright, right? So I'm going to take that presence down and I'm going to take the volume up to past 6. Now I'm here. Now I've warmed up. Now I can play some pretty cool AC/DC stuff and some pretty cool Zeppelin as well. However, if you take the volume 2 and you just roll it up a little bit, it's going to fatten your tone up a little bit more. Even though it's not engaged, it still affects this channel. So I'm just going to roll that up a little bit. Now I've got a really good bass tone that I'm working with. The next step is to move on to the pedal board. So on my pedal board, I've just got just a basic tuner, and then I have this EP Pre by Clinch, and this really emulates the original Echoplex preamp really well. I really think I've tried several of them, and I think this one really just seems to give a warmth and openness to the amp that I don't get from other ones. I think this really is the real deal. And then I've got a Belly Pock Deluxe for the tape delay, for the Jimmy Page type tape delay. Now there is also a preamp in here, so I guess I'm hitting the amp with both of these a little bit, which I guess isn't necessarily authentic, but this preamp I don't really notice it at all. I can definitely hear the warmth that's added when I engage this. If I turn this preamp on and off, I really don't notice much, so I don't think it's doing much. Could be wrong on that, but that's just what I'm hearing. But anyway, the effects, the tape delays on here are fantastic in emulating that. And then, of course, I use a phaser for a few of the tunes, for Zeppelin tunes, and then I usually have a Crybaby hooked up for any of the wah stuff that Jimmy Page did. But pretty simple setup, but this is the main ingredient. This pushing the Plexi a little bit is going to give it some warmth and some openness that you don't get without it. And I think with this pedal especially, you get just a little more authentic vintageness from it, as opposed to like the exotic EP3. I feel like it pushes the amp a little bit too hard. It makes everything a little bit muddy. This is really, really clean and great. So that's the main ingredient. And then of course this for your delay. And that's basically it. Super simple pedalboard setup for doing Page. But this with a Plexi is a match made in heaven. That's how I get the volume down to where I can play it in clubs. This is the power station that works as an attenuator. Power amp works as an attenuator, and I can get it reamps the Plexi with all 2 power, so you really retain everything. And you can dial in, like if you do feel like you lose some presence or depth, you can dial that in with a little EQ that's on here. This is the 100-watt one, so it's got 2 different channels as well, which is cool. And then, you know, with any vintage Plexi or reissue Plexi, you don't have an effects loop, but this does have an effects loop on the back. So this way I can run a little bit of an effect. I usually don't put anything into the effects loop unless I'm gigging outside. I hate playing outside because your sound is it just disappears. It's just gone out into, you know, there's nothing to bounce off of. So your sound is just kind of disappears. So you need a little something, I think, when you gig outside. So if I am gigging outside, I'll run this reverb through the effects loop. Otherwise, I try to keep it pure and just use the reverb of the room. If it's a big enough room, I guess if it's a smaller club or something, I might throw this back in. But this is essential, because if you don't use something like this, you're at 120 decibels and you're going to blow the doors off the place unless you're playing in a big arena. All right, so here it is, just dry. Here it is with the EP Pretty by Clinch engaged. Without, with, without, with. It really just opens up. Here it is with the reverb from the effects loop. Here it is with a little bit of slap back. Try that middle position. So if you play sloppy, if you play sloppy or something, it's gonna show that. But if you play